You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got some family here. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining me is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
It's the job. No hard feelings.
And also joining me is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
It's entirely possible to be relaxed and extremely uneasy at the same time.
And Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Crack an egg on it.
Caw!
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm. Warmer. Disco.
The Disco Dork.
Who are you?
Your daddy. Your mama just didn't tell you. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast. Yay!
We're all together again.
All
Feels so
together
good.
again.
Feels so good.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I need to see that movie.
Teenagers go to the movies. Yes, you do.
good.
I need to see that.
Yes, you do.
I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. We'll talk about it in Brad's Week in Dork. But, I'm not a cartoon person. You know that about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, we did not get any iTunes reviews this week or these past 2 weeks. Kern, what is taking you so long? Write your review.
It's
You
gotta be
promised
perfect. It's gotta be
on
perfect.
Twitter you would write a review.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be 5 stars.
But while we were in San Diego for the San Diego Comic-Con, listen to our preview cast as well as this episode. Not preview cast, review cast.
Yes.
You didn't go back and listen to our
Guys,
previous
You
cast.
listen to that too.
I'm so out of it. I have not recovered from our vacation.
I worked today.
Yeah, well, let's not rub it in Darren's face.
It's okay.
We did get a new fan of the podcast reach out to us on Twitter, and I just wanted to shout him out because he was incredibly kind on Twitter.
Oh.
And that's at Chanderly_96 CHANDLERLY_96. And he said, okay, first let me say, this is the podcast I've been looking for since two dope boys ended. And then he uses the heart emoji. Thank you for that. Also, around the hour 33 moment, you talk about how the foreshadowing of Sorry to Bother You is so deep. My second view, I noticed they literally tell us from the start of the movie, not mapping. I don't want to say that because that goes into spoiler territory. But Chanderly, thank you so much for tweeting us.
Yay.
And he has several other tweets where we engaged with him about Sorry to Bother You.
So welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, welcome. And yeah,
In a few weeks, we'll start abusing you to get our 5 stars on iTunes.
Yeah, that's
how we get them. We call out our listeners one at a time.
So enjoy your probationary kindness.
But then once Kern writes a review, Chanderly, it's your turn.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe you can beat Kern to it.
Yeah, let's see who
Man,
it is.
who's going to be favorite? Chris Chaka for life. Oh, nope, Shar is my favorite.
Oh, damn. You just dropped Chris Chaka
Sorry,
like
Chris
that?
Chaka.
Oh, God.
So sorry. He's not, he's a very busy man.
Oh, I love all of our children equally.
Oh, you're a good parent. That's not how I was raised.
No, I'm like God. I'm a benevolent God. I love all you equally. Chris, I love you. Shara, I sang to you. Chandler, if you act right, I might do something special for you too.
Ooh, favors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the meantime, Brian, how was your week in Dork?
Week in Dork was pretty fantastic.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic.
Yep.
Today, prior to this recording, I went to the theater.
Yep.
I saw a film that we talked about, and a film that's been on my radar since I saw the trailer months ago, about 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Blindspotting.
Did I oversell it? Because I saw this before you, and I was I tend to do that
Dude,
sometimes.
No,
admittedly.
yeah, you do tend to oversell movies.
But I've been on a good run
But
this
you know
recently,
what?
right?
I was a good run. Like what else?
Oh,
Do not ask him for facts and figures.
No. But I saw on Twitter that Physics said that this was his favorite movie of the year.
yeah. Shout out to Rap Dork. What up?
Yeah, and this is a movie that definitely has been on my radar. So I was like, all right, bet. So then after we talked about it, I definitely wanted to check it out. And this is a film that stars Daveed Diggs and I believe the pronunciation of his name is Raphael Casal. And they're the two stars. They play Colin and Miles. And they also wrote the film and they produced it. So just to kind of give you a little bit of insight on the story, Colin is in jail. He when the movie starts, he's released from prison and he has 1 year of probation. And we flash forward to 3 days before he's about to get off probation, and he pretty much has to stay clean, not get in trouble, has to maintain a job. And I believe
That's really it.
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Just don't
don't get in any trouble and maintain a job. And so when the movie kicks off, we're 3 days before he's about to get off probation, and he has his best friend Miles, who's a white guy that they grew up with since like they were like 11 or 12 years old in Oakland. This was the movie takes place in Oakland, and on that night they end up they're movers. So his job is that they move furniture. There's like a moving company, and he witnesses a black man get shot down by an officer, and the officer is played by Ethan Embry.
And this is in the trailer, so Brian's not spoiling.
Yeah, so all this stuff is in the trailer. But what I actually loved about the movie was going through Colin's journey after he witnesses this guy get shot down and how that haunts him throughout the film. And then the movie goes into a little bit of a different direction where it really explores the idea of gentrification in these neighborhoods in Oakland and cultural appropriation with a lot of transplants coming into the neighborhood, new restaurants popping up, new developments popping up, and different types of people moving in and to some degree pushing out the people that have lived there their whole lives. But I like how the film takes those ideas, takes those topics and ties it back into Colin's story with everything that's happening with him being on probation and the shooting of this guy haunting him. And I love the artistry of this film as well because there's a lot of stuff like when you see him jogging, they do like this push-pull. Like so every morning he gets up and he goes jogging. He has to jog through the cemetery, and the camera they do like this push pull, and just the visualization of that just shows you how he's kind of feels like he's running in place. So they do a lot of great stuff with the artistry, and then there's also like spoken word. They do like rap, but it's incorporated into the film. But the way that it's utilized, it's not like a musical where they just break out into like slam poetry or into like spoken word. It's like they're actually like freestyling.
So
like,
yeah,
like,
it's the two of them hanging out.
Yeah, the two of them hanging out, and then like they'll just start like spitting a rhyme or like trying to freestyle a rhyme. And then like they'll go into an because there was one scene, I don't want to give too much away, but there was one scene where they have to go and clean out this house. And the lady bought this house, but this house belonged to a family that used to live there that they don't live there anymore. So they have like old photos and old albums. And like when you're going through the house, Colin is kind of doing a freestyle about everything that's happening as far as like the people that used to live in this house and how now like their stuff is looked at as garbage, you know. But I don't know, it's just so profound and so impactful. Just talking about those ideas and going to your point as far as the ending of this film, like I was saying, how this murder haunts him throughout the film and how he confronts that at the end of the movie is, and I said this in my YouTube review, it's probably the best scene I've seen in cinema this year.
Oh shit.
It's powerful. It's absolutely powerful. And I mean, this movie broke me down. Like the second half of watching this movie, like literally just broke me down. It's an absolute must watch.
Lisa and I were trying to see it before we recorded. We just ran out of time being life.
Yeah.
But considering how the summer's pretty much over now that Fallout's released,
Yeah.
we should take maybe next week and do a Blindspotting review cast.
That's what I was telling Brian.
Nice.
I said because I feel like it's a movie that's you put this right on the shelf right next to Sorry to Bother You, especially and we were just talking about this. I just made this exclamation when we did our review cast for Sorry to Bother You, and like in this year we just had so many profound statements from these artists speaking
and also
on,
from Oakland, right?
Yes.
Ryan Coogler, Boots
Yep.
Riley.
Now
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
and this was shot concurrently in Oakland at the same time Sorry to Bother You was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I highly recommend this film. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I think I like this probably. I love Sorry to Bother You. And I'm not trying to, compete these two films, these two Oakland.
Leonard
like-
Maltin wouldn't like that.
I know, right?
Does it have like some of the same like dreamy absurdist qualities, or
I don't know necessarily if
Or
I
it's
don't know
just
if you
similar
say it would have
themes?
absurdist. It does have similar themes, but it messes with tone a lot. It's extremely funny. It's a very funny film, but when it hits you in that way, like it's a really impactful film.
well, it's an extremely compelling trailer,
Yes.
and
Yes.
like now that you talked about like how the verse is like woven in, because there
Yeah.
is something about like the color and the aesthetic that
Mm-hmm.
almost to me reads a little bit musical almost.
Yeah,
but
and
the
I
fact that
got
it's like
that.
playing
Yeah.
with like it's just like reality adjacent maybe, like,
Well, it plays around with that because
and there's dream sequences and stuff. You
Yeah,
mentioned.
because in the trailer, I think what you're referring to in the movie is more like a dream sequence. But the way that it plays with imagery as well is it's almost like you would say it's kind of adjacent to something like maybe a musical with some of the imagery that's in the
but
film.
doesn't quite make it.
But
No,
it's
not at all. Because so there is no sing. There's no. It's not.
Yeah,
they're not
it's
singing any
nothing.
verses. The only time they're rapping is when they're walking on the sidewalk, and it's just them two, and they're rapping between themselves. When they're in that house moving, and they're rapping between themselves, and then that dream sequence that is in the trailer,
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's a moment in the third act where it's no longer just between them two, and that's
Yeah. All right. Well, let's put a
We don't-
button in this conversation.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And let's pick it up next week.
Yeah,
Nice.
so I definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. So I'm excited now. I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yay.
Yeah.
all right. Lisa, how was your week in Dork?
My week in Dork was also great.
Yep.
It's interesting that you brought up Sorry to Bother You. But, I mean, extremely uninteresting because we love this movie and we can't shut up about it. We did a whole review cast on it, so I'm not going to talk long about it. But Brad and I last night went to the Angelica Film Center at Mosaic, and there was a showing of Sorry to Bother You, followed by a Q&A
Yes.
with Boots Riley and Danny Glover.
Dude.
Oh my God. It was so bizarre. And we got our usual like row 2 seats, so we were real up close. It was nice.
You know, of course, you immediately launch into like Murtaugh, right?
Yeah.
Danny Glover was way into bringing up Murtaugh,
Yes.
like, and the Lethal Weapon series.
He's at peace with like, this is what you know me for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
And he
also
played to the crowd. You know,
know.
he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to say the line. You ready for the line? I'm too old for this shit."
He did it. He was also like, I was also in The Color Purple. Don't forget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it was absolutely amazing and a total honor. And I actually got up the nerve to ask Boots Riley a question.
Yeah.
And it, my question had to do. So somebody else asked him a question about, how he plotted out the absurdism in the film, and he was like, he didn't intend to make an absurdist film. It's just as he was trying to express the central theme of the film, it was just like, for it to be understood, I have to push this idea further, and I have to push the idea further. And no, this isn't far enough.
And to underscore the truth of it, he had to bend reality.
Yeah, yeah. So I found that totally, like when he said that, totally readable in the film.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just like the idea of like science fiction, where it's just a logical extension, of, well, if this is the path that we're on, this is the kind of shit we're going to end up with.
Yeah.
It's just a logical extension. So off of that, they're like, one last question. And then my phantom hand just like shoots up. Meanwhile, my heart is going like thunk, 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 thunk. I was fucking dying. And I was like, I was raising my hand very confidently, very straight, but I was like, don't call on me. Please don't call on me.
Lisa, you talk to all kinds of rad people
On
this podcast.
With my notes.
Oh, yeah.
But the question I asked is like, well, you talked about how you integrated this absurdism, you know, how do you can you talk a little bit about how you integrated the comedy? Because a lot of times comedy is used to like cut tension, and that's not how Sorry to Bother You operates.
Right.
You know, it like the comedy like induces tension. And his answer essentially was that he doesn't think of himself as a funny guy, and he doesn't intend to write quote unquote comedy, but when he's pointing out irony, and he says this happens in his music all the time with the coup.
Yep.
Like when he's pointing out irony, it makes people laugh, and he talked about like how like with his music, he just kind of lives music, and he's not too analytical, and that he knows musicians that are great musicians, but like who went to music school and learned how to read music and backed into music that way, you know, through the analytical side, and they're just not as good musicians, which made me super fucking sad.
Aww.
But it's okay because I'm hyper analytical.
Yeah.
but it was very interesting. Like he could turn like. We've talked about the Angelica Film Center as a theater. But
Worst audiences in Northern Virginia.
Intolerable.
Guys, put your fucking phone away.
But he could take the their dumbass questions and really weave them. Danny Glover too. Really weave them into these really, really thoughtful answers. You know, you can just tell that both of them are extremely like open people, just as artists, and they're just comfortable in their skin, and they're just like, you know, so they could take anybody's dumb question and really turn it into something, which was cool. And he talked it was like a 50-minute Q&A.
He was a jukebox.
Oh yeah, definitely put a quarter in. Danny Glover as well.
Yeah.
And but I got lots of compliments on the quality of my question.
Yeah.
I felt very proud. But he made eye contact with me the entire time he was answering my question, and I was just like, I wish I could just say, well, I'm not actually an eye contact person, so if we could both look away, you know, because I can't listen.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like Booth Riley is looking at me, and like Sorry to Bother You. I was talking to Brian about this before that, like, might be my favorite movie of the year. I fucking love the film. So I'm just like,
Lisa can't handle talking to the people who make her cherished items.
yeah, I can't. I'm like, I couldn't handle it, and
But
I was just
you've done it. You did a great job. You sounded a little nervous.
That's okay.
You know, when you met Joss Whedon back at Comic-Con those years ago, we can't shut up about that moment.
Nope.
You were cool and collected until he walked away, at
and
least.
cried really hard. But like, yeah. So, but I really, because he was making eye contact with me, I had to like, because it's just like when somebody makes eye contact with me, the introvert in my head says, look like you're listening, and then you forget to fucking listen. So I had to like use like my whole brain to
No, not your whole brain.
I was just like, you know, like, listen,
So he
stop
had to reach a
pretend.
stage of enlightenment.
Oh my god, it was
I know
crazy.
that as an introvert myself, I know that feeling.
It was a great question.
I'm glad that you're now at the point, Brian, with our friendship where you don't even pretend that you're listening.
I listen.
You listen.
He does the schnepp nod.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just super cool.
And seeing the movie a second, because we talked about it in our review cast about how complex and how layered and dense that film is with ideas and themes. And I love talking to people and getting their response after their second viewing to see like were there things that they picked up on that they didn't see the first time. And so I'm assuming your second viewing was more rewarding.
Oh, absolutely. Also, you know, I'm an anxious person. So I watch movies with like a lot of trepidation the first time through. Even though you assured me that it was, you know, VF and all of that stuff, I still, part of me is just like, you know, has a lot of, you know, phobias and stuff like that. So like a first watch is always kind of stressful for me. So it's on the second watch I can really enjoy the experience more. And I find like some of the surprises that I found very alarming the first time, I found them less alarming, more charming, weirdly.
Yeah.
So yeah, the second time through really like, you know, solidified like what we talked about in our review cast in terms of, you know, this is the theme. This is what I'm like. This is what this film expresses to me, which is something that Boots Riley talked about a lot. Talked about how he doesn't want to explain the movie to you. Like people were asking, like, you know, what does this piece of symbolism mean? And are you trying to say, are you saying this or are you saying that? How are we supposed to interpret this?
Right.
Like one of the things that came up on the Facebook, it was something I think. I just lost my thought. Oh, no, it came up on the podcast. We were talking about when Tessa Thompson, when Detroit was doing her show.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I won't spoil anything, but was that a contradiction of character?
Right.
And he was essentially like, well, do you think it's a contradiction of character? Would Detroit think that it's a contradiction of character? It's really about how you interpret the film, which I like, which I love.
Well, no, he said it's certainly a contradiction.
Oh yeah, he says it's a contradiction, but is it a
moral slight to her character? That's on you.
Right.
Yeah. That's on us to decide. So I really appreciated that.
And it feels like it's the type of film that when Boots Riley says that, it's not a cop out because the truth is I just wanted to throw some weird shit in there. It feels like it's genuine when he says, you know, I want you to put yourself in these characters and take from it. You know,
and he said, like, you know, like if I wanted to tell you what is woven into the symbolism, I would have just told you.
Yeah, he'd do like a TED Talk.
Yeah, I would have just told you. Yeah. And he took an opportunity to shit on Mother.
No, he didn't. No. He didn't shit on Mother.
Not the movie. He loves the movie.
He took a big dump on Aronofsky for going
explaining it
and over explaining Mother.
Yeah. And he really enjoyed the movie, but he didn't like you know, if you're going to do this highly symbolic movie, like, you know, art is a conversation, you know, so you're supposed to bring yourself to it and then interpret it through that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But we know how I feel about Mother. Anyway.
Yeah, it's great.
So I guess that's what Maybe We Can Dork is about, because we just talked about it for my time, which I love to. I'm never done talking about Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah.
Good.
And we're going to talk about it again. It's definitely on our Dorkies.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I'll just mention quickly, while we were so Brad and I, we'd make our San Diego trip our big trip for the year. So we take a few days before, a few days after.
Yep.
So after Comic-Con, that following Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Monday we hung out with family, my godmother and her family. They live out there, and she always gets us amazing Mexican food from this place called Los Cabos.
Oh my god,
so fucking good.
So many
And
French fries.
Hang
in
out
that
with
burrito.
Eric and Allison.
I'm looking in Brad's eyes as he's remembering it.
Oh my god, so good. And then that Tuesday we went out to LA and we hung out with David Lawson of Rustic Pictures.
We went to his office.
We met his dog.
Yay.
His dog put her asshole right on my sleeve, and I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I guess we're bonded now. My dog now, I guess.
Yes.
Such a cute dog,
Yes.
Luna. Shout out to Luna. But that night, Brad and I made a return to Put Your Hands Together, Cameron and Ria's podcast, stand-up podcast, but neither of them were there.
Huh?
They had because they travel, they're comedians. So they had a guest host. The guest host was, I wrote it down. Because it was somebody I didn't know, but I thought she was super fucking funny.
Yeah.
Charla Lorison. And I thought she was like so funny.
Is she like a new up and comer?
I don't know if she's like, she could be like, I wish that I knew everything.
I think I'm always under the assumption that you know every comedian already.
I should.
We
But
were unfamiliar with her work.
yeah. But it was, she was the host. She was amazing. And then it was Caitlin Gill, Allison Wetterland, Tess Barker, and then the final comedian, surprise comedian.
Who's the guy?
Oh, Roman Fraden.
Yeah, because he pulled me into the show, guys.
Yeah, Brad got crowd worked.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny.
I helped his comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coincidentally, my sister had gone to LA the week before for her birthday. Hi, Teresa.
Hey.
And she got crowd worked by Andrew McCann, who he does, and he's done the bit before, but he does a bit about zodiac signs.
Yeah.
And Teresa, he crowd worked Teresa, and she got to say that it was her birthday, and it was so cool, and you could totally hear her talk. And I was just like,
Yay.
this has to happen for me. It's happened for Teresa. No,
So
it
we
has
got
to
there
happen for me.
super
We got there
early.
early. We
We
sat
were
in the front row. I'm like,
We were first in line. We had the first seats to pick.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So
That's
we sat because generally when I go to a comedy show, I sit a little bit back on purpose because I do not want to be crowd worked. But I'm like, I can't let Teresa beat me. So I was just like, ah. And then of course Brad gets crowd worked by Roman Frayden. It was kind of a hack bit, I thought, to start out with, but he really weaved it into something
It worked
wonderful.
out pretty well.
He did a bit like he's actually
I
currently,
think I helped, like I said.
He's going
I made it better.
to oh shit.
Equinox, the
No.
gym.
Oh, he's going. Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's what the bit is about.
Yeah.
But he's going to Scotland. What is
Oh.
that thing in Scotland called?
I have no idea.
Oh, shit.
Burning Man
Teresa would know. No, the the festival
of
in
bagpipes.
Scotland. Never
Oh.
mind, you're
The
useless.
Scottish Burning Man.
I can feel passive aggressively that you want me to stop talking. But he did a bit about like he's a gay man. He's a gay guy, and he feels so lucky for getting to use the men's locker room because it's just like a feast for the eyes.
Yeah.
And so he points to Brad and he's like, "You're straight, right? You like the ladies?" And Brad's like, "Yeah."
Oh boy, do I!
I love it because he's the kind of guy when he points out you're straight is probably not a compliment. Though he gave you eyes when he was talking about Grindr.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, so he's like, you're straight, right? Wouldn't you love it if you walked into a gym and you were surrounded by naked ladies? And I go, oh yes, I would. And then he started talking about Grindr later on in his set, and he looked at me and I went, oh yeah.
Brad is such a helper. I loved it. And then the closing comedian was none other than Patton Oswalt.
Oh shit!
Who was literally just at the Alamo One Loudon.
Yeah. Did you know that he's going to be there?
No.
That's
No,
dope.
so it was like a surprise.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. And he did a bit about getting his house renovated and the kind of like weirdos that contractors bring into your home, but they do like amazing work. So you just put up with them being bizarre.
Yeah.
But what's funny is Put Your Hands Together is a podcast second, an open mic first.
Oh, okay.
So comedians can go and they can choose not to put their sets on the podcast. And this time that we went, like literally nobody put their set on the podcast except Roman Frayden.
Oh.
So there's like one set, the episode, like even the host, even Charlotte Laurison's wonderful opening set is not on there, which I was like, is that even an option?
And it's personal choice? Like,
Yeah,
I didn't like my set, so don't put it on there.
No, it's a lot of times, and I think this
Yeah.
is the case for a lot of them because the sets were amazing.
Yeah.
Especially in compared to the first time we went when the sets were pretty shitty. But the sets were all amazing with the exception of Tess Barker, who I love.
Don't throw her under the bus.
I gotta be real.
Lisa put her hand over her mouth when she said it.
But I listened to her podcast. But for the most part, it felt like, well, these are going to be TV sets, or they're going to perform them somewhere else, so they don't want to burn the material.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if you want to hear the one guy that Brad interacted with, you can hear that on the podcast.
Have you listened to it yet?
I have not.
Oh,
I listened
Can
to
you hear me go like, oh yeah?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't.
Boy,
listen
do I
to it.
love naked ladies.
Neither have I listened to. So since Meltdown closed, Doug Loves Movies got moved to the UCB Franklin, where Put Your Hands Together is, and it follows. And Brad and I kind of got burnt out on Doug Loves Movies, like going to them to attend them, because the guests have been like not spectacular.
Well, the last batch that we had done at San Diego during Comic-Con had been pretty
not
weak.
spectacular. But I wish we would have stayed for the Doug Loves Movies that followed, because on the panel was Patton Oswalt, Scott Aukerman of Comedy Bang Bang, and Paul F. Tompkins, who is one of my favorite comedians that I have never seen. He never comes here.
I'm sorry.
So I'm so pissed.
We should have stayed.
I walked right past Scott
But
Aukerman.
Lisa,
I gave him the
that
eyes.
drive back from Los Angeles to San Diego was so long, and I was so tired.
Brad was
If we
tight.
had stayed any longer, we'd probably be dead.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's true.
Because I would have driven us into those big booby things that are on the side of the ocean. What are
Yeah.
those?
The side of their
the
silos? I don't
Silos,
know.
yeah, they look like breasts.
They
on
do.
the side
And
of
we
the
point them
coast.
out every time. We're like, the boobies.
You know,
That was a Naked Gun, right?
Yeah, and Naked Gun, and in the Endless. You know,
yes,
the
yeah,
Endless.
yeah, yeah.
The brothers drive by. They're like the boobies.
Yeah.
yeah. I would
We
have
do that
driven
too.
right into them. I
We
was
also,
so tired.
when we're on Hotel Circle, and we drive past, there's one of the hotels has a restaurant called the Amigo Spot, and every time we drive past it, we go the Amigo Spot.
The Amigo Spot, and I always want to stop at the Amigo Spot,
We've
and we
never
never do.
have.
And I think they now have a new waffle
Yeah.
statue outside, like a little waffle man.
I want to stand next to the
He's
Waffle
got a
Man.
crown.
Do you know the Waffle Man?
right.
Lisa's singing. Take a drink.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done talking. I'll
Well, that
shut
was
up
like
now.
my entire week in Dork that you just did.
Oh.
You just did everything that I did because we were
Yeah.
trapped together in vacation land.
I do not. I'm very codependent.
But the one thing you didn't talk about in your week in Dork.
She's helping. Now she's helping your bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yesterday we went and saw Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Yeah, with Muse Girl.
Yeah.
With at Muse
Oh,
Girl
with
with Lisa.
Lisa.
And gosh, that movie was amazing.
Yeah.
I
fun.
loved Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and I've never seen an episode of the cartoon.
Really?
Never.
Yeah, that's what
Like
I told you.
it doesn't appeal to me. Like the animation's not like my type of animation.
Yeah.
And honestly, those characters, I don't really give two F's about the
Yeah.
Teen Titans.
Yeah.
But this cartoon film, and it's short, it's like 75 minutes, and they have a short film at the front
Oh, yeah, that's
of
right, that's
DC Superhero Girls,
Yeah.
which was only okay. So if you're watching that short and you're like, why did Brad make me see this? No, hold
Hang
on
on.
to the actual film. It is like rapid fire comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Joke. Unbelievably funny. And I don't think you necessarily need to be an uber nerd to appreciate the comedy.
But I think you way appreciate it more if you do.
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you are.
know, like when like the challenges of the unknown at the beginning, there's like this running gag with the challenges of the unknown, and bam, that's a joke for Brad.
Look, I didn't even know that there were real characters, and that was funny as hell to me.
Right, Muse Girl, Lisa Bell Roden, she also said, like, are those actual characters? I was like, they are. They were created by Jack Kirby, and they are great. They shouldn't be in the
vacuum, the void.
The void, but they are. Oh man,
The movie is 75 minutes of the TV show. That's what the show is.
Well, I need to start watching the show because I came out of that going like, I need a Beast Boy action figure. I need a Cyborg action figure. Will Arnett voices Slay.
That's right.
Slay. Mind manipulation. And I mean, all the Slade stuff was great.
Yeah.
And
I like the music. I like the music. It was really fun.
the
Popping
songs
musical
are great.
music. Is the show also a musical?
It's not. I mean, they have
Everything
bits,
should
they
be a
have
musical.
bits in it where like randomly someone will say something and they'll go, "Oh yeah," and it'll bust out into like a
And there's
song for a
so
moment.
much fourth wall breaking, and this is the kind of fourth wall breaking that I appreciate, unlike the Deadpool 2. Sorry to smash on Deadpool 2 right now, but I don't like that movie. I'd rather have a Slade film there and a Slade 2 film. There's a lot of shade actually being thrown in Teen Titans Go, right?
Yeah, yep.
You know, there is the most brutal takedown of Stan Lee in this film, and it's Stan Lee doing the takedown.
Yeah.
It's so great and
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
And there's a bit, Brian. I don't.
Oh my God!
I don't want to spoil it.
No, don't spoil it. Don't spoil
There's
it.
a bit with a baby Aquaman.
Oh God!
And like when it happens, I could not believe I was watching it. I've already just ruined it for all our listeners because they're going to anticipate
There's
it.
also another bit that Brian is gonna like.
Oh yeah.
When they were
Oh
doing the
yeah,
times.
with the things
Oh
that
yeah.
he loves.
Oh yeah. There'll be a
You know,
yeah.
one of the two things that Brian
Yeah.
loves gets
Really?
referenced.
There
It's not honey mustard.
Yeah. There's a
Oh,
major.
one of the three things.
major reference to one of Brian's passions.
Oh my God. Okay.
at the
I need to
center.
watch this.
I
ASAP.
forgot about that. Like that's the thing. Like the jokes are just coming at you every 2 seconds. And does every single one land? No. You know, there might be
A couple
one too many
explosive diarrhea jokes.
poop
No,
jokes.
they're great. Every single one is great.
Actually, the explosive diarrhea joke's pretty
Pretty
good.
fucking funny.
But the taking a dump in the prop toilet.
That was my favorite part because the speakers.
Something for everyone.
That's true.
There's something for everyone in this
the
film.
first fart joke involving Balloon Man.
That was
I
funny.
appreciated.
That was funny.
So maybe I don't know. Maybe all the fart jokes landed. But it's just a great time out at the movies.
Did you see the mid-credit sequence?
Oh hell yeah!
That was badass.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah.
And like how they set that mid-credit sequence up on the VHS tape. So good.
Yeah.
So good. It's just it's rapid fire comedy,
Okay.
Brian.
I might go see this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
I highly recommend it. So that was my weekend dork.
All right. For my weekend dork, I went and saw Blindspotting. We are going to have a review cast, so I'll share my thoughts more on that in the future. I also saw Teen Titans Go, and like Brad, I thought it was hilarious. And I also saw The Equalizer 2.
Yeah.
So did we. Oh wait,
You did it, and I only saw it because
that was going to be our Comic Con.
That was going to be our Comic Con movie, and I figured, well, since you all were going to watch it, I'm going to watch it too, so I can be a part of the discussion.
To know why we didn't see Equalizer 2, listen to our Comic Con review cast.
Yes, and you know what? So if you've seen my Letterboxd review, if you haven't, I'll save you the trip.
I haven't.
It's 2.5 stars.
Nice. It's good for you.
3 is good for me.
I know.
So I just felt like the idea of a sequel to Equalizer first. To me, I was shocked because this is Denzel's first sequel I think he's ever done.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, and then
What
secondly,
about Glory Part 2?
there's no Glory Part 2.
It's not in production yet.
And I felt like, all right, well, at least, I didn't like the first film that much. I didn't think highly of the first film. Like I haven't seen it since the theater. I haven't thought about it since the theater. And so I was like, all right, well, if it's at least as entertaining or it's okay as the first film, okay, I'll be fine. But like I don't know. I'm not going to spoil the film. Just to me, why I gave it 2.5 stars and why I just didn't feel like it was a good piece of cinema is because, obviously Denzel's fine in it. He's Denzel, but like the structure of the story, it felt like I couldn't tell you what the point was, and the way that the story is structured, how they would go from one scene in one location to another.
The point of the structure or the point of the plot?
I guess the point of the plot is really, really bare bones and basic at the end of the day when you take everything else out. And it just seemed like they went like the long and complicated route to get to the end of the movie instead. And it was like super I don't know. I don't want to turn people off from watching because, again, people love the first Equalizer.
That's our job. If we think it was garbage, we should tell them it's garbage.
I don't think it was garbage. I just don't think it was a good movie. And I really feel burned by it now when I realized that you all didn't watch this shit, and I didn't want to watch it at first. I could have went and saw 8th Grade. I'm supposed to be watching that for Lisa.
Yeah, that's right.
But I'm going to go see that, if not tomorrow, Tuesday. So,
okay.
But that's been getting rave reviews. I will ask Emily. Emily Sears.
Emily
Shout out to the
loved
Sears.
it.
I'll ask her if it's VF. But I'm still going to go watch it because I said I would because I want to see it. But anyway, I could have saw that instead, but that's fine. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, you are. That was just what you were doing.
Yeah, it was.
How about the action? How was that?
I think
the violence.
You saw like most of it in the trailers. Like, there's nothing in there that
What's
really
the
stood
rating
out.
on Equalizer 2?
It better be R.
Okay.
And Pedro, what's his name? The dude from Game of Thrones? Pascal.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was like Ephraim Ramirez, Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite?
That'd been dope. But you see his character from a mile away. Like, you understand where the story is going with him. Like during when he's introduced, and I don't know, like just the climax of the film, like that action sequence. It felt like standard at best, and then I don't know, like just the end of it was whatever. Anyway, but there's an old guy in there, Brad. There's a subplot of an old man and
old guy. You say
a recurring Uber Lyft passenger of Denzel's character, and you dig that because you love old dudes.
I do.
It's a pretty sweet story, but it just felt like if you took that out, like the movie wouldn't be any different if you took this other bit out with this other character. I don't know, like I don't want to talk about it anymore because I don't have too much nice things to say, and I would rather get into our review cast of Mission Impossible Fallout. So
Because you have lots of good things to say.
I have good things to say about it. And way more than Equalizer 2. So when we come back from the break, we will be talking about Tom Cruise's latest attempt to put his life in mortal danger with Christopher McQuarrie's return to the Mission Impossible franchise with Mission Impossible Fallout. So stay tuned after the break. We'll be talking about that when we get back.
Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to talk about Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yes.
The sequel to Mission Impossible Rogue Nation.
The 6th Mission Impossible film.
Wait, what?
Better.
Yep.
Better.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot about Ghost Protocol was on Ghost Protocol in my brain.
It got disavowed in Lisa's noggin.
I love that movie. That's not fair.
So in this one, we have a large portion of the cast returning from previous Mission Impossible films.
Pretty much everybody sans Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
And
What was he up to? I guess
know.
he's just in the CIA.
yeah, and Paula Patton's
Rattling
character from
around.
Ghost Protocol, she was disavowed apparently as well.
She's been gone since the last two.
Oh, sad.
They churned through the lady spies.
Well, this is the first time that a director has returned to the franchise.
True.
And it's the first time, well, not the first time, because I guess Michelle Monaghan does return in Ghost Protocol for the last sequence.
Yeah, she got a cameo in the fourth one.
Yeah. But Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust is the first major female lead to return for two significant parts.
All right. So like we always do, we're going to do our good, the bad, the ugly of this film. We're going to go around round robin to get everyone's opinions and discuss.
Yeah.
Brian, Turtle Dork, start us off.
This movie was amazing. Where to start? I mean, of course, we all want to talk about the stunts and some of the action set pieces. So I'll get to that. But first, I want to start a little bit with the character of Ethan Hunt. And one thing I noticed about this movie was how this film kind of further explores not just the character, but the relationship that he has with his team. We get to learn a little bit more with these last three films, starting with Ghost Protocol, even with Mission Impossible 3. We learn more about Luther Stickwell and Benji, played by Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames. But seeing the opening, and we're going to spoil stuff here.
Oh, yeah. We're spoiling everything. So watch this movie. Come back to us.
Yeah. And seeing the opening of this film where they're trying to trade for that plutonium so that they can get the plutonium. And Luther is at gunpoint. And Ethan has to make a choice. He has to make a decision. It's like, do you save your friend, or do you let them get away with the plutonium? So Ethan makes the choice to save his friend, and
It's the Captain Kirk moment. The needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. The opposite of what Spock would have done, and the CIA.
Absolutely. And I think that is an important theme that kind of, for me, that just kind of runs throughout.
Absolutely,
runs throughout this film.
We get a glimpse into the psychology of Ethan Hunt, and his heroism is so much about saving individuals.
Yeah,
it's not so much connected to patriotism. It's not so much connected to glory
or logic.
Yeah.
It all has to do with, I need to actively protect the people I love.
Exactly.
Whether it's Julia, whether it's Luther, whether it's Benji, and I think that it it makes it hard for him to have relationships because then when you're in a relationship with him now you're his responsibility.
I think it's a little slightly different than that, Lisa. I think it's the person who's in danger in front of him. He's going to make the fix now, right?
Yeah.
And he has faith that he'll make the big fix later. I think that's the key element to Hunt in this film in particular, which is that, you know, it's when Henry Cavill's CIA agent August Walker is falling from the plane, and he saves him in that moment. And you throughout this film, you hear Ethan Hunt go, "I'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
We'll burn that bridge.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to
Yeah.
it." The previous film, Rogue Nation, you saw Hunt getting beaten and battered, and you see the humanity of his hero. He's not James Bond. He's very much Ethan Hunt, taking a licking and keeping on ticking. And in Ghost Protocol, you saw Ethan Hunt with like the hope, right? Like, okay, all right, my glove's not working on the tower. That's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll make it work. You know, I have hope. I have faith that it'll work, which then gets taken all the way to Fallout, and that's like his philosophy,
modus operandi.
Yeah, I mean, Ilsa Faust says it to August Walker, where August Walker's like, "What's your plan here?" He's like, "Well, I hope they haven't met John Lark yet, because I'm going to pretend to be John Lark." And he goes, "Hope's not a strategy." And Ilsa Faust is like, "Oh, well, welcome aboard."
Yeah.
You know? That's what I've really appreciated about his growth from 3 to 6.
No, absolutely. And that was one thing that I really just kind of took notice watching this film is seeing how that character has evolved and just really turned into that type of character. But even with that, and then going to the ending of the film with Julia,
right?
The relationship and him wanting to protect her. And I love how they were able to bring that storyline back and wrap that up from the third film. And I think it's done in such a beautiful way. And going back to that first scene with Luther, like when Luther has that moment, was it with Julia or Ilsa, where he starts to break down talking about Ethan.
That's Luther talking to Ilsa about the two women that Ethan Hunt's ever been in love with.
Yeah, and I mean, and then you really see the just seeing how much these people are important to Ethan outside of just the mission. I appreciated seeing that aspect of the story that I haven't really discovered in some of the other films before. But so those are some of the things I really enjoy. And then, of course, we have to talk about some of these set pieces that Tom Cruise is just, I've said it once before, he's a literal madman. I mean, you go from set piece to set piece when this movie opens up, from the free fall jump out of the airplane where it looks like it's all one shot, to the bathroom fight sequence, to the motorcycle chase in Paris, to when he's jumping from building to building and he breaks his ankle.
They have that shot of him like limping away.
Oh my God. Like
so funny.
Like everything that you see, I mean, the helicopter chase at the end. And I love the way McQuarrie stages these set pieces as well, to let you know that this is Tom doing this. Like, you're going to see his face, you're going to see him on this helicopter and fall down to this. It's incredible. It's incredible to notice.
As part of the pre-show, they
at the
Alamo, they show, because we've seen the movie twice, both times at the Alamo. They had a like extended interview with the guy who draws the
Bristol.
Yeah,
Mark Bristol, I think his name.
Who draws the storyboards. And he really talked about how he has to collaborate with McQuarrie and collaborate with Tom Cruise just because, like, you know, how important it is for people to realize, oh my God, that is Tom Cruise.
Yeah, and Tom, I mean, more credit. I mean, people can say whatever they want about Tom Cruise, but I give him credit because he does this for the audience members. He says this all the time. He's like, look, if you're going to pay your money to see this, I want you to know, like, I don't want there to be any type of veneer or anything between what you see.
He says that, Brian, but
know.
I really think what he does these movies for is himself. Mission Impossible Fallout is an excuse for him to Halo jump. All right, it's an excuse for a big budget production to give him a ton of money so he can pilot his helicopter in unsafe and insane ways.
But we also reap the benefit of that.
Yes,
as well.
I'm happy that he's a maniac. I'm happy that he's a thrill seeker.
And honestly, if he wants to do these kinds of things, a movie set is probably the safest place to do it because they are all monetarily invested in keeping him in one-ish piece.
And he's able to do it because he's been producing this franchise since the beginning. Mission Impossible 1 was his first film as a producer. And that's how he's able to manipulate these stunts into happening.
Yeah. And I just love seeing him ride a motorcycle. I mean, this guy is just I love it. Absolutely love it. So that's just some of my good.
Nice. I really like. If we're talking about action scenes, I think we should shout out Liang Yang, who was the guy who played the
John Lark, maybe.
Oh, yeah, in the bathroom. Yeah. Yes.
I thought, like, with those three actors together, I thought like it was an extremely technical fight, and they were doing amazing things, flying through doors and, knocking over. But, like, it was extraordinarily well acted as well from all three of them.
Not only is the fight choreography A+, right? And the performances.
Oh, with the thing with the pipe?
But
with the stabby pipe?
Yeah. It's McQuarrie, right? He tackles these action scenes like it's a Hitchcock set piece, right? He knows to stop the action scene, to build tension, to have guys come into the room, to bang on the door. I mean, he is a master manipulator. McQuarrie is on fire in Fallout.
That bathroom sequence is definitely exemplifies a lot of what you just said, because I give a lot of credit, not just to the actors, but to McQuarrie as well, with the way he staged that. And I wish more directors would be able to stage fight sequences like that, to be able to do the choreography, to know how to place the camera, how to cut to certain shots, to make it look fluid.
Well, what's interesting about Rogue Nation and Fallout is it's actually very much like George Miller in Fury Road, right? Where he's taking massive chunks of runtime, and not giving you just one set piece, but giving you three set pieces. If you look at the breakout of Lane, Solomon Lane, Sean Harris character, where it starts as an imaginary sequence in which in which Hunt sees it all going wrong and forcing him to kill cops, and then it's the execution of the actual release of Lane, where he screws over the White Widow's men, and it goes into the water. So you have Benji releasing Lane from the ocean or the river. You have Hunt and August Walker in the truck, and there's this crazy truck chase, which then turns into a motorcycle chase, which then turns into a foot chase. Which then goes underground.
And he does the same thing in Rogue Nation.
And he does the same thing in Rogue Nation with, we're going to get the disc under the water, and it's going to become a car chase, and then it's going to become a motorcycle chase. And that's what Fury Road is, right? Where the whole movie is a chase sequence, but within that chase sequence, you're doing character, you're doing narrative. It's
pretty great.
It's awesome. That's why people are so crazy about the action sequences, is because the majority of the films are taking place in them.
So besides the bathroom fight, Lisa, what else do you have as far as your good?
We kind of touched on this, but I love how Ethan Hunt is doing a lot of improvisation, but he's also fucking up all of the time. He's clumsy. He gets hurt. Like, he doesn't know the term, like, getting out without a scrape. Like, he gets the shit kicked out of him, and it keeps you emotionally involved. He's not a machine. He's not like John Wick. He's
more like John McClane.
Exactly. He's more just doing the best that he can, and so even though logically he's going to pull it out in the end, it is always a nail biter.
Yeah, it is.
Well, he's always moving forward, even though
he doesn't know which way he's going.
He doesn't know which way to go, and also he would lose in many, many situations throughout the course of this film unless some other person intervened or if a coincidence happened.
Right? I mean, the film opens with a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Oh, yeah,
there are a lot of points of view that would go, okay, trading Ving Rhames' life for the plutonium was a mistake. You know, and it was like they didn't keep their eyes on it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gone. You know, it was a mistake.
And then Alec Baldwin comes in and goes, and the world is at risk. You're like, oh, no.
I'm so glad that he comes back at the end because it feels like every scene with him in it is like him shouting over a motor. And I just feel like as a singer, I'm just like, oh, your vocal folds. It's not good to be shouting over that. I also like the fact that his entire team is making mistakes. I thought that the moment with Benji and the foot chase and Benji's like following him with the tracker. And they were in Rome and he's like, running up the basilica and like, why is he running in circles? Oh, I had it in 2D. I thought that and the fact that like Ethan Hunt is like so patient. You can see him kind of roll your eyes, but he's never like fucking Benji.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It just highlights the desperate nature of this insane plot that they're wrapped up in. And it, you get the payoff at the very end of the movie when Benji says to Ethan, well, how close were we this time? And Hunt's just like, the usual.
Yeah. Just a few smaller points. I like that all of the women were made useful. Like, even Vanessa Kirby, the White Widow, had a moment to like play with the switchblade and all of that stuff. And
she's savage with that switchblade.
Yeah.
And she's the daughter of Max from the first film.
Yeah, that's so cool.
What? Vanessa Redgrave's character.
Yeah. When she was doing the kind of like semi-eulogy.
When she's introduced, like my mother Max. Oh, yeah, she's the arms dealer from Mission Impossible 1.
Yeah.
Because they said that this movie tied into all the previous films. I'm like, well, how did it tie into 1 and 2? Well,
I'm not sure about 2 because I remember nothing about 2 because 2 is such garbage.
Damn.
Yeah.
No doves flew in this film.
So
well, you know what? Actually, it does. In the conversation that Luther Strickle has with Julia, he says, I've only known Ethan to love 2 women, and one he was married to. The other woman is Tandy Newton from Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, that's who he was referring to? Okay.
That's who I assume he's referring to.
I thought he was referring to Rebecca Ferguson.
Damn.
I thought it was his wife and you.
Yeah,
no, I don't.
That's what I
well,
thought.
because that's not true, because we know he was in love with Tandy Newton by the end of that film.
But maybe he didn't tell Luther about it.
No, Luther knew. Luther knew.
That's not like
"Nah,
a
we're just
weird
friends,
thing because he was trying to imply
That's what I thought he was talking
that.
about.
Yeah, of course he was because he was trying to imply
No,
that she.
I've just decided Tandy Newton.
that is you're a silly goose.
No, I think it could be Tandy Newton.
Yeah. Anyway, so all the women kicking butt,
Yeah.
defusing bombs,
Yep.
so cool. I like that Solomon Lane is still alive.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love Solomon Lane.
I know.
Sean
What a great
Harris, so good.
He has the craziest, creepiest speaking voice.
Macduff.
Yeah. So good. Okay. I have one more point about Henry Cavill, who I also think is Armie Hammer. I get them confused. They're the same dude to me for some reason. But it's Brad's turn to talk.
No, you can say your other point.
He's dreamy.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're both dreamy.
I mean, I agree. Henry Cavill is a beast.
He's a beast in this movie. He's
Slab
enormous.
of beast.
Yeah.
And and so good in this movie as like the double agent dude.
Yeah.
Even though like the entire time Brad is the worst, and he's like whispering, he's leaning over, he's going like, he's Lark. I'm like, fucking Brad.
You knew that from the beginning?
Almost immediately.
What?
From there, like, and the mystery man, we don't know his face. And I was like, that's going to be Henry Cavill.
Must be the only guy we don't know already.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, B.
I echo. I love the film. I don't know if I necessarily liked it as much as Rogue Nation, but as a piece, I would say that Rogue Nation and Fallout are certainly my favorite Mission Impossible movies and probably my favorite action films of the last decade. I immediately after watching this had to go back and watch it a second time the next day. I just loved it so much. And you know, as much as I love Tom Cruise, I keep going back to Christopher McQuarrie. And when I'm watching the film, I'm going, you know, this doesn't really feel like a McQuarrie film. What feels McQuarrie to me is how he uses tension within the action sequences, how he edits those action sequences. But the look was like way different. So I get home, he's replaced every crew member. There is not a single crew member that's the same from Rogue Nation to Fallout, and that's why they look so different. The cinematographer on this one is Rob Hardy. Rob Hardy shot Ex Machina and Annihilation. And at the end, when they're in the cabin, and it's Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa Faust and Benji squaring off against Sean Harris, the grain and grit of that frame is so delicious. I just want to cut into it. I just love the look of this movie. And the score is Lauren Braff, I think. I'm messing up his name, I think. But the way I like the last score, and of course I like Giacchino's scores for Ghost Protocol and Mission Impossible 3. But the way Braff integrates the Lalo Schifrin score is really interesting in Fallout, because you have the main theme and the chase theme from the TV show, but it comes up in unexpected ways, and then he'll take source music, source sound in this film and incorporate it into the classic theme. There's the sequence in the church where they wander into the funeral, the military funeral, and there's a choir, and then that choir is used throughout the foot chase. It's like, just
I didn't even
the
notice
craft
that.
of it. Like there's such a great laugh moment, because when he's hopping off of roof, every time he hops from one building to another, you hear the choir go up.
I never noticed that.
It's amazing.
I gotta see it again
so
now.
Good, so good.
I never noticed that.
But you know, to Lisa and Brian talking about the psychology of Ethan Hunt and how it's developed. You know, Brian, you're talking about the end of the movie. You know, he's
Lauren Balfe.
Lauren Balfe, thank you, not Braff. He's reunited with Julia, and like in the last couple of films, has he been feeling love or has he been feeling shame and guilt for how he's treated her and the position he's put her in, and because she has become this giant question mark in his life, and in return also a giant void in his life. And when he sees her, when they suddenly meet in the medical camp in Kashmir, all he can say immediately is, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry about this. I gotta go, I'm on the job. And he goes and takes care of it. And then when he saved the day, all he can do is apologize. And we'll talk about this scene a little bit later too, but I like how Julia's existence has really developed into tremendous pain for Ethan Hunt. And this film, it's the first time really outside of strategically going inside Ethan Hunt's head in Mission Impossible 1 when he's working out how Phelps betrayed him. Phelps is telling him in Mission Impossible 1, oh, this is how it went down. And you see inside Ethan Hunt's head of actually how Phelps was in on it. Yeah. And then in this movie, you have the flash of what could happen.
Yeah.
But this is the first time you go into a nightmare of Ethan Hunt. The movie opens inside Ethan Hunt's brain as he's sleeping on a cot in Belfast, and he's being remarried to his wife, and Sean Harris's Solomon Lane is officiating. And this happy moment is being poisoned. And turns into a nightmare. I love that. Yeah. And to go back to comparing this to Rogue Nation, Rogue Nation starts with its biggest stunt, Ethan Hunt on the side of the plane. Yeah. And through the course of that film, the action goes really, really small. And the third act of Rogue Nation ends as a foot chase and a brawl in the streets of London. And I thought, I wonder if he's going to do some playing around with that idea in Fallout, and he really doesn't. I mean, the majority of the movie is in Paris, and he's like, I'm going to go straight John Frankenheimer with Fallout, and it's going to be this love letter to this insane city, and we're going to see this city from all these various sides and all these various action sequences. And I just super appreciated that.
Yeah. All right. For my good, Tom Cruise, basically the cast, the cast, definitely the whole MI team. Everyone has, at this point, become well acquainted and comfortable and settled into their roles for these characters. Simon Pegg's Benji he's extremely, because before, like when he was first cast and put into the franchise,
in 3 he's barely in the movie.
Yeah, I thought it was just a cute like bit of like not really stunt casting, but people love Simon Pegg.
Yeah,
He's a
Shaun of the
quirky guy,
Dead,
right?
yeah.
And so that's how I received him, for the most part, for his involvement in the franchise.
I think
But
what's
with the
interesting about Fallout is that Fallout is the first one where you really feel continuity.
Yeah. And so with the last film and in this film, also Macquarie developing Benji as a character and as a field agent, because when he's first introduced, that's what he wants to be. He wants to be a field agent. So these past 2 films furthering the exploration of that part of his character, I really enjoyed. And Luther, for the most part, every time he's in the film, he's only there to do his stuff remotely or just help out. We never have gone this personal into, and we don't go too deep, but we do get some motivations as to why would someone hang around someone this reckless and crazy for so long.
And in this film, you really sense that he loves Ethan Hunt.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And so I commend Ving Rhames' performance for that. Rebecca Ferguson is I just want more. I just want to see her do more. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with like Michelle Monaghan, even though but how her character is written, she's not an agent. She's not doing like what you said, Lisa. The fact that because I wanted to see her do more, because I love her as an actor, and the fact that I want to see her do more outside of just be mentioned or referenced or something like that. It was a nice surprise to have her come when she was like, all right, Lisa, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to help.
She's saving lives in the work that she does, you know, inoculating an entire village of smallpox.
In Mission Impossible 3, when J.J. Abrams introduces this idea of married retired Hunt, she's ultimately used as damsel in distress mode. And she's good in the movie. She's fine. But she's not terribly active. At the end, I guess she gets to shoot a couple people while Hunt's been, disabilitated.
Yeah.
But here, at least getting her to play doctor on that nuclear bomb with Luther,
and she was funny.
And she's funny. And she's great. She's great in it, to Darren's point.
Yeah. And Henry Cavill or Armie Hammer.
Same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
The man from Uncles.
Of course, I'm happy to see him on screen. That's my Superman guy, and so the big deal about the mustache, and
it's a good mustache.
It looks
it's worth it. Like seeing him be someone outside of Clark or the Man of Steel was fun.
That scene in the trailer where he's talking to Angela Bassett's CIA, and he's like, he's been disavowed, his country's betrayed. I'm like, how long until this man Ethan Hunt has had enough? Like when you're watching that in the trailer, you're like, oh yeah, okay, he knows what's what.
Yeah.
He's on Ethan's side.
Yeah.
But now when you watch that scene in the film, all the other stuff that's going on within that context is like, oh, what a piece of shit this guy is.
Yeah.
I really liked Angela Bassett too.
Yep. Yeah,
she
as
was
like
great.
the face of the CIA and just unrelenting. I'm bringing you all in.
She has so much screen presence.
Do you think she then becomes the IMF secretary after
Oh my
Alec
God.
Baldwin gets assassinated?
I would love it if she.
No,
if she's
maybe
on.
Jeremy Renner.
I had that thought. I was like, oh, Jeremy Renner will come back as the secretary. That would be interesting.
Little baby secretary.
Yeah.
Oh.
But if you're a secretary in the IMF, you're dead, dude. Baldwin had the longest lifespan.
Stay behind the desk.
As far as the action sequences, of course, you talked about all those. Brian, I love seeing as a former motorcyclist, I love seeing Tom Cruise ride a motorcycle. The fact that he's really doing that, and he does it without a helmet. That's insane. I would never.
You shouldn't.
No, you should not. And I don't care how much insurance you got.
Every time they do the thing where they're tilting and they put their foot down, I'm like, don't put your foot down.
I'm guilty of that.
Oh my God, that's where the rocks and shit are. That's where you trip up and bash your skull in.
That's the smoking equivalent of motorcycle racing. It just looks so cool.
Yeah.
It's dangerous and deadly, but so cool.
Yeah. The helicopter sequence at the end,
Oh my God.
The moment that so in the trailer when Henry Cavill's crash copter comes barreling down the hill, and Ethan's struggling to loosen his seatbelt so he can escape. And then it cut to the title sequence. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm trying to visualize how he gets out in time because I know he's going to get out in time. But the way that it's edited, it doesn't look like he has a lot of time. So I hope that doesn't seem like a bullshit like when he escapes. No, he does not escape. Like that thing hit and it goes to what Lisa was saying before. Ethan is always worse for wear when he comes out on the other end because he is not afraid to. Oh, I'm the star. I don't want to mess my face up. I don't want any bruises. I'm invincible. Like Ethan gets put through the ringer, and not just being punched or kicked or shot at. But even in something as simple as like two colliding hulks of metal, like from a helicopter crash.
And when he collapses on the mountainside, he's holding the seatbelt.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill totally looked worse though. Like he had his whole fucking side of his face
that gasoline
Harvey Dent thing going on.
The gasoline that was so not necessary and so hilarious.
Well, here's another good, and this is again to Christopher McQuarrie. He is a master of PG-13 violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
He makes you feel every punch, and after you've been punched or after you've had gasoline splashed in your face, there is an effect, right? He's gonna have a melt face, or when the not John Lark guy gets shot by Rebecca Ferguson in the bathroom, and he's like, "Oh well, now I can't do the face thing because he's got no face," and then you cut to that other shot, and there's blood all over the tile.
Yeah,
it's still within the confines of PG-13, but I would argue it's more brutal and nasty than a lot of R-rated.
It's
violence.
effective. It is very effective. Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, that's for my good. Brian, start us off with the bad. If there are any points.
No, not really bad, but just some stuff that didn't really sit well. I think one might be a little bit of a nitpick, and I only seen the movie once, but the first for me, I think, is Henry Cavill's character. That I think was not really that unexpected to see that he was the. I mean, of course, there's some twists and turns, and the way that is revealed when he's talking to Solomon Lane, and you realize that it's Benji. Like, I love that moment. I thought that was a great twist. But you could kind of telegraph.
Well, they
also did it
reveal
with
it
the
earlier
phone.
because when he
when he gives Angela Bassett the phone and it's not cracked, at that moment. So, but I don't know if that's something that within the context of the story that you wanted to keep close to the vest and have that reveal be later on.
I mean, like I said, I knew almost instantaneously that he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I loved the ride of that. And when he turns bad, I love Henry Cavill as the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think from the trailer, when the first teaser came out, it was the teaser or the full trailer, I had a suspicion. I was 99% positive. I told Brian that Henry Cavill was going to be a bad guy. I just didn't know that he was Lark.
Yeah.
I just knew that
he was going to be like when you watch a trailer. I mean, you see the two of them shooting each other from helicopters.
Right.
So I thought like, okay, well, it's CIA versus IMF,
and that's what I thought,
Yeah.
because the trailer does a great job of disguising that, because you hear Alec Baldwin say, like, look, if you go rogue, he's been hired to go after you.
Right.
So you just figured that, okay, whenever he does decide to go rogue, then Henry Cavill's going to have to go after him.
When he's in full maniac mode and he's talking about his manifesto, I think he's so good at playing crazy evil.
He was great.
Even in that moment when he was about to shoot that cop.
Yes.
Like, which is all like, body movement and eyes and subtlety in him performing, which you knew, like, oh shit, he's going to kill that.
It's not
guy.
a side of Henry Cavill that we get to see too often, so I really delighted in it.
Yeah.
Because he has such a sweet face.
Yep.
Whatever.
He does.
Damn.
But
All right,
with the gruffy beard and the mustache,
and he has the Kal-El curl still in this movie.
Yeah, but I mean, outside of that, the other one is more so of a nitpick. I think that the film itself I think going to Rogue Nation, if you're comparing this to Rogue Nation, I think Rogue Nation has a tighter story. Like the whole plot of this movie with the bombs and getting the plutonium, and to me, it just feels like we're kind of just moving from action set piece to action set piece. and the storyline throughout doesn't feel as tight as I would like for it to be.
I think I ultimately agree with you. I mean, this is very much, it's like Mission Impossible 1 or Mission Impossible 3 with the rabbit's foot or the knock list. Now we have the plutonium core.
Yeah, so
there's just an excuse happening. But
you just refuse to acknowledge Chimera. And Mission Impossible 2.
What the fuck? And Mission Impossible 2's Chimera.
I've said Chimera. I got you, John.
And
Chimera.
what's the one in Ghost Protocol? It's the briefcase thing.
Yeah, that briefcase. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's always, I told Darren this, there's always a MacGuffin in each. And they always use that trope. And I
never really thought about that till Brian said that last night. We were talking about it. And I never realized that there's always a key MacGuffin. Like,
yeah.
Throughout movies, that's a norm, right?
Yeah.
There's a movie,
Yeah.
but like I never focused on for this particular series. There's always
that's
key
why
MacGuffin.
that doesn't bother me because I'm like, oh, what's the MacGuffin this time?
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me, but I just felt the story in Rogue Nation was just a little tighter than this one. And
Well, I think the idea of in the previous film that McQuarrie had this idea of going big to small as far as action really guided the script.
Narrative. Yeah.
But at the same time, this one's certainly more bloated. But personally, I will not let anyone say anything bad about it.
No. I mean, that's and I again, if I watch it a second time, it may not be much of an issue. It's just something that I really just kind of noticed. But even with that being said, I enjoyed each set piece and enjoyed going on the ride of watching this film. But really, outside of those 2 points, there's nothing really else I have that's bad.
Okay, wife Dork.
Yes.
Bake Dork.
Yes.
You're bad.
Okay, so.
And I would also like to know your bad points of the film.
Okay. Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm blushing. Okay. So this came up in both Brian and Brad's good, but I think that it's.
I was anticipating.
I know, because we had this conversation, and I was like, if you take this as your bad, I'm gonna be annoyed. And he's like, it's my fucking good. I'm like, oh. I think that it's lame that the entire conceit of this film is that Ethan Hunt gets a pussy pass to fuck Rebecca Ferguson. I think it is so lame. That's like you're going like, oh, this,
that wasn't my good. But I get what you're saying.
But yeah, you're talking about like how it's tying up the story. Like I agree that the story with
Don't worry, Brian,
Julia has to be tied up. I mean, I agree that that's true.
Yeah.
But to have another girl literally waiting in the wings is shitty.
Yeah.
And so like, to me, I liked the idea of Julia because she was like this source of torture for him, and it was also another
shame,
way
and pain
shame
and regret.
Exactly. And it was another thing that differentiates him from a James Bond, because James Bond is all about like, I'm emotionally unavailable and I'm here to get my dick wet. Like that's James Bond. Where Ethan, even though he's married to his job, he still has this faithfulness that he has to everybody.
He's not so much married to his job, but when he was away from his job and he saw bad things happening, he took it as his own responsibility. It was his own fault. So when he saw something terrible happen, that because he was making
that's
kissy
definitely
face.
a way more words to say exactly what I was fucking saying.
Okay, good.
So even like the idea of her being out there was this way for me, how I was interpreting it, as Tom Cruise as a person going like, yeah, I know I'm still hot, but I am getting up there in age, and it is no longer appropriate for me to be getting down with all of these young ladies who totally do want to fuck me.
I mean, Vanessa Kirby, her goo goo eyes to him in this film is ridiculous, and that kiss that she gives him on the Sen is
silly.
It's
it's
super
very
silly,
very silly.
But it's also very much in tone with Tom Cruise and his insanity and everything we love about him. And it's the same deal in Jack Reacher, right? Like when he's in that film and he goes to the Salvation Army to get clothes, all the women like turn and look at him and go like, "Woo!" Ooh, that's Tom Cruise walking by. And you know what? Here's the deal.
But,
Tom Cruise walks by me, I'm doing the same thing. I'm giving him the same Vanessa Kirby goo eyes.
I'm not denying that Tom Cruise is like, he's like, oh, he's elderly now and no longer hot. The thing is that he's an adult, and these women are half his age. So it's not like, he's a classy dude. It's not appropriate. So I have some interesting math here, Brad, for you.
It's like August, September romance or whatever.
Here we go. Well,
January, December romance.
May, December.
Whatever. I'm not a scientist.
Like, to me, it's okay. So Tom Cruise now is 56 years old.
Damn.
Yeah.
Doesn't look it, though.
Michelle Monaghan is 42 years old. Also does not look it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So,
Lisa, we have a 5-year difference between us.
I
don't even want to know the Vanessa Kirby.
Hold your horses.
Oh, boy.
So, in Mission Impossible 3, Tom Cruise was 44.
Oh.
And Michelle Monaghan was 30. So that's a 14-year age difference. Okay? So that, I would say, is a May-December
It's not
romance.
like college and high school, you know.
Okay. So now it's been some years. Yeah, it's been 12 years.
Oh no.
Okay. Tom Cruise, now 56, we've already discovered that. Rebecca Ferguson is 34.
Don't you do it.
That's not bad.
So that is a 22-year difference. Which meant
50s though.
Which meant in Mission Impossible 3, Rebecca Ferguson would be 17 years old. Grass on the field, play ball. Am I right, Brian? Am I right? Give me a 5.
That's something like that.
He still gave me a 5.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's, this is a problem.
50s, 30s though.
All right, I'm
This is
41.
But
Lisa,
some women in
41.
the-
What's my limit?
So according to Brad, your limit is
I don't want to be Ethan Hunt. I'm saying I'm going to be Disco. So according to my limit, I'm 41. Where am I?
But some women, if you're looking at Rebecca Ferguson now, women in their 30s like older men.
We know people like that, Lisa.
They call
that
Lolitas.
is not the issue. The issue is that's how it is in every fucking film. Every fucking film, the 50, almost 60-year-old guy is getting with the 34-year-old girl.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
You know, and I don't like, and to me, like, the fact that it's the status quo is a problem. Now, if Darren was like, meet my new girlfriend, she's 19 years old, I would be scandalized. I would be scandalized.
No,
but I mean, if
So what's my cutoff? Like, where am I?
I don't want to say, because
42?
you are an individual.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're an individual,
Yeah.
and the person that you're with is going to be an individual.
Tom Cruise
but
is
to
an
me,
individual?
like, what's going to happen in Mission Impossible 7,
When
Ving
he's
Rhames
60.
is going to sit down with another 30-year-old woman and go, like, I've only known Ethan Hunt to love 3, maybe 4 women, according to Brad. So, like, to me, it's shitty. It's a shitty thing to do. And to me, it's just like, I liked the dichotomy of there's clearly chemistry between these two characters, but just because there's chemistry between people, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to act on it. Yeah. And so I thought, like, to me, it was much sexier for them to have this kind of tension between them.
And no pass.
And so
yeah, here's the deal, though.
Okay.
Like, I agree with you.
Because I'm right.
And especially at the end of the movie when Michelle Monaghan basically says, like, look, I'm happy. I'm married now.
Yeah.
You don't have anything to be apologizing about, because without you, I wouldn't have had this amazing life that I've got.
Yes. And I'm married.
And I've found true love. So don't worry about it. And then Rebecca Ferguson's character, Ilsa Faust.
Oh, yeah, they do, like, they exchange a look.
They don't only exchange a look. Rebecca Ferguson, like, leans in and whispers something.
What is she whispering?
What's going on there?
Don't worry, I'll take care of his dick.
I think that is awkwardly done. And it does read very much like a hall pass.
It's gross. I'm gonna look up how old Chris Corey is.
If you are going to continue to do Mission Impossible 7 and Mission Impossible 8 and Mission Impossible 9, and you've introduced this amazing character in Ilsa Faust, right? And we're going to continue her character. the engaged attraction that was in Rogue Nation is fun for one movie. But already in Fallout, their unengaged attraction is super creepy. And so if you do not wrap up the wife subplot...
Well, I'm just saying that there didn't need to be like a passing of the baton, being his fucking dick.
I agree. But it had to happen. It had to happen.
Yeah,
for us to have more Mission Impossible sequels, which I want.
I don't disagree. What I disagree with is the fact that it was a passing of the baton.
But here's how that scene would happen in any other movie, right? This is what I thought was going to happen in Ghost Protocol. Bullet to the head. We're going to Born Identity her or Born Supremacy her, kill off the girlfriend, and be done with it.
So because it was not a worse thing, then it's okay that it's a bad thing?
I'm just saying it could have been worse.
Well, I mean,
I'm saying that Christopher McQuarrie is 50 years old, and I think he's living some kind of fucking fantasy.
No. Yes. Poor Brian and Brad. The B&B sad show. We love this movie so much. Don't say bad things about it.
I loved the movie. I really enjoyed it, but I found this cheesy as fuck.
Yes, I think it is awkward, but at the same time,
it's kind of sweet.
I appreciated it. I appreciated it for handling it this way, and I liked how it revealed in Hunt's character that there was an actual emotional void in his life because of this romance.
I think that was
failed.
also clear in in Ghost Protocol with the cameo.
Well, in Ghost Protocol, it's this whole mystery, and this is how we're going to push her out of the film. And they could have just been like, they could never have addressed Julia ever again, and we would have been fine. I like that they addressed Julia.
Yeah. I thought it was unclear also, like, whether they had actually gotten a separation or a divorce. I thought that was unclear. And the fact that it was established, okay, they're actually not together. Like, Ving Rhames is like, they're actually not together,
Yeah.
So I thought that was weird, too.
If you're going to... Can we move over to My Bad?
Yeah,
because
totally.
It ties into this.
Okay, cool.
I think that scene's way worse.
Yeah.
That's my least favorite scene in the entire movie, is the Luther Strickle saying that Ethan Hunt has had two loves in his life. One of them's Tandy Newton.
No. Tandy Newton got retconned.
And the other one's Julia. I think, like, Luther's, that speech is the corniest and most awkward speech.
And unnecessary.
And unnecessary, especially since Julia's going to give him the hall pass later in the movie.
Like, to me, I think that you could wrap up the Julia story, have that kind of tension between those two characters without having the Ving Rhames conversation, without having, like, the awkward exchange between those two characters, and then having her by his bedside at the end of the movie as opposed to the team.
So when you're saying give him a hall pass, you talking about releasing him of his guilt?
Letting him off the hook.
And now you can go fuck people.
Letting him off the hook.
But she's married to someone else.
That's what we're saying. That's the hall pass.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not, a hall pass is something technically different. If I gave you a hall pass for Rebecca Ferguson, it would never have fucking happened.
No. The hall pass is Julia saying, don't worry, we're divorced. I'm not sad.
We're not together.
We're not together. You shouldn't have any guilt. Releasing him of the guilt is the hall pass.
But technically what a hall pass is we're still in a relationship, but I'm giving you a hall pass to go fuck this other person.
I haven't seen that Owen Wilson movie, so I'm not 100% sure how hall passes work, Lisa.
Dude, you've seen Friends. You know the list?
No, I mean, dude, if you're asking me to go back in time or remember anything that happened in Friends, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's your only bad?
Yeah, that's really my only bad. No. As much as I appreciate how you come to a Mission Impossible movie and it's going to give you the MacGuffin trope, it's going to give you another trope of the director is going to die. I'm sad that Alec Baldwin's gone and that he went out the way he did. I think his last line to Benji, is it, in Fallout? Like when he says go, when he says go, I like Alec Baldwin's death sequence, but angry Alec Baldwin, especially angry Alec Baldwin at Tom Cruise, is awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't think I love Angela Bassett in it, but I don't think Angela Bassett and Tom Cruise will have that type of dynamic.
Yeah.
Or whoever, if they bring Jeremy Renner back, or better yet, they should bring back Kittredge from Mission Impossible 1. Because what happened to that dude? Or Lawrence Fishburne from Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, those I didn't love that. And to Brian, I don't think this movie is nearly as trim and well crafted as Rogue Nation is. But there you go.
Still good.
Still
great.
damn. I mean, I still freaking love this movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I have no idea what our uglies are going to be. Darren, it's your bad. It's your bad.
My bad would be to what Brian was saying. I felt like there was a portion towards the middle of this movie where it just felt like it was running long, and the plot for me started to become a little convoluted, and it didn't seem as focused as. And I'm not saying it wasn't. Full disclosure, to be honest, like I don't know. I told Brian this. I wasn't in the best headspace when I went to go see this, because this is one of my most anticipated movies of the summer. This is a big film, and as anyone who's listened to this podcast knows, when we have big films like this, I'm always excited. Like, we're always excited. And so, I'm the guy that's there on Thursday at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, depending on how the early show is. And if it's great, I'll go see it back to back. So, and I had every intention of going into Mission Impossible Fallout the same way, but just because of like personal stuff and how I was feeling around that time, I was conscious of the fact that I wasn't on this high when I was watching this movie. So as I'm watching it, I could tell that I wasn't enjoying it as much as I would be if I was in a better better state, right? So towards the middle of the movie, I could just feel like it just felt like the pacing of it was starting to drag. So that was like the one main notable thing. I didn't like, and this is this is only a bias. It's not no strike against the film. Just seeing Henry Cavill as the bad guy. I mean, that's Superman. That's my
Every other movie, he's good, Darren.
Yeah. It still hurts though. But again, that's not a slight against the film. But the thing that upset me the most, or I feel like was the bad, is what Lisa brought up. Like that whole, I wasn't thrilled to see her character return, because it felt like they were doing it to free Ethan up so he could be with Rebecca Ferguson's character. And if you bring her back to tie up the thread of her character, period, like, okay, I get that. Wrap that character up so in future movies we don't have to keep revisiting her. We could just go to another plot or the main plot, right? So I understand that, but I felt like the whole doing it and then immediately, like, Rebecca Ferguson is right there to get the handoff. I felt like you could have did the closure thing, and then in the next movie or in another movie, then have them finally but to do it like right then and there, it's like
it's gauche. I agree.
It's like I'm breaking up with you right now, and then as soon as I leave this conversation, the next girl is right there at the door. How did it go? Are we cool? Are we good? Yeah, we're clear. Let's go. It just feels like it just felt like the movie did that, and I understand wrap that character up, yes, but wait till the next movie. There's going to be another one because Tom Cruise is still alive and he's nuts. Yeah, have some class about it. So like that bothered me tremendously to the point where I knocked it from 4 to 3 stars just because of that. But hearing you all talk about like the good, and you were talking about like the music and how it was used like during that chase, it was stuff that I didn't pick up on, and so I know for a fact when I go back to rewatch this at some point this week, because I'm going to see it again. I had every intention to do it before we recorded, but because I'm in a better headspace now, and also because of this conversation and what I'm taking into it, I'm going to enjoy it way more. It might go back up to 4 stars, but if that ending is still on there, it's going to probably stay at 3 or 3.5. But yeah, that's my only bad. Like everything else, yeah, I'm cool with. Brian, the ugly.
No real ugly. Maybe Tom Cruise limping after breaking his ankle, kind of ugly.
They don't have the shot right in the trailer. They have the shot where he hits it, and they took the shot out.
But when he gets up and limps off, that's the shot where he actually is
limping
broken
off.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really ugly. Maybe Henry Cavill's the Two-Face. the gasoline Two-Face. Such a pretty man. You don't want to mess that face up. You know?
I immediately want to see him as Two-Face.
Oh, right.
This hulking Harvey Dent. Oh my goodness.
No, but that's probably the only ugly I got.
All right, wife Dork.
My ugly is the line. Are you going to guess?
Oh no, I thought your bad was also your ugly.
Oh no, it's a specific line of dialogue, and both like the first time I heard it, I was like ugh, and then the second time I heard it, I was like double ugh. And the line is,
"It's great. I love this line.
I kill women and children with smallpox. I have no line."
I love
They
it.
should have fucking called him out. There's no way that you're John Lark. I keep on wanting to say John Locke, like from like Lost. There's no way you're fucking John Lark. If you have to, if you kill women and children with smallpox, you don't have to remind people that you kill women.
He
and
does
children
in
with
that
small-
moment. He's got to show that he's a badass. He's a bad
you
dude.
could
He
do
doesn't
it
care.
with
He's
a
an
look.
immoral monster. No, he could not do it in a look. He would be shot the next
Brad
sentence.
is so insufferable right now.
I fucking love this movie.
Yeah,
right.
that line is the worst.
So apparently you don't have ugly, right?
I think the ugly is what Lisa talked about. I mean, I agree. Like when I was, watching the movie, I was, in particular, that whisper, Rebecca. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Whoa.
Well, probably because your wife was next to you going like, ugh.
Yeah, but, Lisa, I assure you, I was also feeling that like, ugh, like.
Yeah.
I don't think I vocalized it as well until our conversation afterwards. Because it is just like so insane. But again, around that, I like the psychology that's going on with Hunt's character
Yeah.
and how much pain he's in because of what didn't happen 3 films ago.
Luckily, Rebecca Ferguson is right there to make him feel better.
So Rogue Nation, I love their relationship in Rogue Nation and the tension and whose side are you on? Are you good? Are you bad? And then this film picks that up once again, as an antagonistic relationship between MI6 and IMF.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I necessarily want to see like the 7th film open up with them in bed together.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, save that shit for later.
Yeah, it would have been enough if she just was she's released. What's she gonna do?
The moment they're tight, the moment they're lovers or friends, that relationship is immediately less interesting than what we got in Rogue Nation and Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I agree.
Pleasure Delayer.
Yeah, not anymore.
Vanilla Sky.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they haven't bumped uglies yet.
That's what she whispered. We already did it. Yeah, my ugly would, I guess, I don't know. My ugly is the shoes that the next director has to fill regarding what McQuarrie has done for this franchise. It's been mentioned before, he's the first director to come back and do a sequel within this franchise, but I don't know, maybe he comes back and does the next one, but but if in fact another person is brought in, they have some big shoes to fill, because what McQuarrie has done with these 2 entries into the franchise is what a lot of people have been saying. It's turned this franchise that for some people, like, this wasn't on their radar as definitive like action movie franchises and things like
Appointment
that.
viewing,
Right? But now it's become that, and so. Is the next person in line under the pressure to uphold this new legacy of this franchise or whatever? So that person has some big shoes to fill.
It's going to be Michael Bay.
It's interesting. I'd watch that. It'll be interesting to see who takes it afterwards.
Right.
Maybe even Christopher McQuarrie continues, because Sean Harris's Solomon Lane is still alive, and. Not that I necessarily saw that as a bad. I would like McQuarrie to wrap up the Solomon Lane story.
I'm thinking that too.
Yeah.
So maybe that's his intention to do a trilogy.
I think it would be pretty cool to have a McQuarrie trilogy within the franchise, 7 to top it off. Yep. And again, just like he did with this, replace his entire crew, hire a bunch of new dudes, and make another different looking movie, but contain that savagery and brutality to the action sequences.
Because in the replacement of the crew and the changing of the look of the film, it keeps the
And
film
the sound
in line.
of the film, the production designers, the storyboard artists. I mean, everybody.
It keeps in line that thing where each film is
Feels
distinctive,
different,
and at most, at worst, it looks different. So it's still keeping that tradition, even though it's retaining the same director.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting.
They're going to bring John Woo back.
That's not going to happen.
All right,
Gareth Evans, though, that'd be interesting.
Maybe.
Yeah. At least, at the very least, the action would be nice. The action would be nice.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hit us up at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We did get one question.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it's from Kern, who we were busting his chops earlier. But he said, I sent out, hey, anybody have any questions about our preview? I keep saying PreviewCast, our San Diego Comic-Con ReviewCast or Mission Impossible. And he says, yes, many S's.
Oh.
Love to hear rankings of the series, of course. I love that the stunts are real and it certainly adds to the film, but I have a feeling that a lot of people are giving a pass to some of the film's flaws because of the action sequences. Any thoughts on that? I think we covered what some people think are flaws in this podcast.
These flaws are given a pass by Brad because it's Tom Cruise, not just action.
I mean, it's Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie.
Yeah.
And yes, the action's amazing, but also I think the dialogue is perfect for this genre. The MacGuffin usage is great. We haven't said this, but McQuarrie is a writer-director on these films. He's the only writer-director doing blockbuster cinema, and I think that's also really interesting. Yeah. But okay, ranking them 6 films.
B.
I think we're seeing yours on Letterboxd. Mine's is pretty similar to yours. Rogue Nation, Fallout. I may flip-flop between Ghost Protocol and Mission Impossible 3. But as of right now, I'll probably put Protocol 3, then 1, then 2. Yeah.
Yeah, this might be the exact same order that you just said. Tell me I'm a bad listener. So I would go Rogue Nation, then the new one, Fallout, then Ghost Protocol, then 1, then 3, then 2.
Oh, you like 1 better than 3?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I might not. I am not sure. But I definitely like 2 the least.
I just did a rewatch of it, and in my rewatch, I enjoyed 3 a lot more than I've had in the past. And beyond Philip Seymour Hoffman being an amazing villain, I really like the editing of that film. I really like several of the set pieces.
Yeah, they're great.
But my ranking is Rogue Nation number 1, right behind it Fallout, then 3, then Ghost Protocol, then 1. Although I really love 1, so 1 might beat out Ghost Protocol.
Really?
And then 2's at the bottom.
All right.
Like way at the bottom. But I would also say that, Rogue Nation, Fallout at their top, and then 3 is quite a ways down.
Yeah, okay. So you hold those high too, really high.
To me, McQuarrie's introduction into this franchise took these films to like all-time favorites for Brad.
Yeah.
All right. I am at Rogue Nation, Fallout, 3, Ghost Protocol, 2, and then 1.
When was the last time you watched 1?
It's been a long time. I've seen the rest of them way more recently than I've seen.
It's worth a rewatch. It's a very different kind of movie. I mean, it's much more of an espionage mystery, very, very, very Brian De Palma-ish.
Yes.
Just the way, like, if you're irritated at all by John Woo, Part 2 will just aggravate you even more. If you don't like Brian De Palma, you're gonna freaking hate Mission Impossible 1.
Yeah.
But 2 is when the film series became an action series.
Yeah.
It didn't start out that way.
Right. Okay. I'll go back and read because I had every intention to watch the entire franchise leading up to Fallout, but I ended up only watching Rogue Nation, which in a way kind of hurt my screening. I mean, the night I went to see it, I watched it right before, and then I went to go see the next one, and that Rogue Nation is just the perfect movie.
Yeah,
I did the same. I watched it the night before.
Like that friggin', we talk about it all the time, but that sequence where he has to dive down into that thing, and he runs out of breath and he drowns. He freaking drowns.
So good.
It's brought back to life, and how that goes to the motorcycle chase sequence. Like that's just the whole film. Like it's just an amazing accomplishment. And so there was no way Fallout was going to live up to that. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. Yeah. So that's my ranking. Let us know what your ranking is if you haven't already on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at @ItModcast. Brian is at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. What are you looking forward to this week? Shit coming out.
Man, there's really not much coming out. No. I mean, theatrically, we have Christopher Robin. So if you love Winnie the Pooh, you might enjoy that film, and The Darkest Minds.
Snooze.
Yeah, the second-rate X-Men movie.
Damn, starring Riri Williams.
Rue from
I did not know that was her
from Hunger Games. Yeah, Amanda Steinberg.
She would be a great Riri Williams.
Yeah, she was on the panel. We'll talk about that. It's on the REVIEWcast for the Women Who Kick Ass panel. She's awesome.
Oh, all right. Lisa is at Wife Dork on Twitter. Also at she's at Sidewalk Siren and at Bake Dork on Twitter. At Sidewalk Siren and Bake Dork on Instagram. And she's at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd. What are you looking forward to?
Not giving any hall passes.
No way. Our marriage is airtight. What am I looking forward to?
Mm-hmm.
Catching up, seeing Blindspotting for a REVIEWcast.
Yep.
Seeing 8th Grade.
Yep.
Once I'm assured there's no vomiting in it.
Yep.
And can I do a little pluggy plug?
Pluggy plug.
So I just had my debut on Film School Rejects. I did an article. I actually did the Shallow Pocket Project article for our Issa Lopez interview. And I actually got a nice, apparently Issa Lopez really liked the article, which was super flattering. So big time thanks go out to Billy for hooking that up for me and getting us these amazing interviews. Indie Dork forever.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you. So read that article. Go back and listen to that chat cast because that woman is amazing. And it was a super inspiring interview.
She's way cool.
And I love the Shallow Pocket Project. This idea that Lisa or Billy write up the interviews that we have here on the podcast so that you can, listen to the interview, experience that as its own thing, and then continue the conversation with some analysis from Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we talk about how Billy's article is on the inside cover of the Endless DVD?
That is crazy.
We have not. No.
Oh
yes.
my God.
And so Billy's Shallow Pocket Project that coincided with our interview with Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, our second interview.
We're so cool.
For the Endless. That article is inside the Arrow Blu-ray Special Edition. And,
it's such a fun read.
It's a great read.
Billy has so much passion and enthusiasm, and it comes through in his article. And ItModcast is in that cover.
Right,
our names are there.
It's really, really surreal to see In the Mouth of Dorkness referenced in an Arrow Blu-ray because, they make the greatest genre Blu-rays on the planet.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So cool.
That guy is at MouthDork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. What are you looking forward to this week, B?
I'm looking forward to not watching Blindspotting, not watching 8th Grade because, Lisa, we're going to be in Las Vegas.
Oh, shit, I forgot.
God damn it, that's right. Gambling.
Yeah, so we're going to be in Vegas, and Lisa and I both have press passes for the big mega Star Trek convention out there. Ooh. So Lisa and I will both be covering the Star Trek convention for treknews.net.
Yes.
And we're going to be running their Twitter feed. So follow at Trek News for all Brad and Lisa Trekkie info.
What are the dates of that?
Well, we fly out Tuesday. And the convention starts Wednesday and it goes through Sunday, and then we come back Monday.
Okay. Right. So when are we going to record? We could decide that later.
These guys here,
it
might
could do
be
a B&D show.
A B&D show. And then
the
week after that, when we come back, maybe we could do Blindspotting then. So you guys could do like a Christopher Robin episode.
Oh, maybe. I want to be
You
on
should
the
have seen their faces.
It's so sad.
Or pick another movie.
I'm going to see Christopher Robin. I want to see it. I know Brian's not a big Pooh fan, so
You're not a Pooh fan?
I like Pooh. I like Eeyore.
For a little while, like when
You're
I was
not
in
a Pooh
high
fan
school.
you should have said I love Tigger first.
I do like Tigger.
Okay.
When I was in high school, like they made us read the Tao of Pooh. Have you heard of that book? Where it relates like Pooh is the uncarved block, relates Winnie the Pooh as a character to Taoism, and I'm like, I think this is my religion. Not Taoism, but Winnie the Pooh. Quality book. Fairfax County Public Schools. Thank you so much.
Yay! I am Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. This week, I kind of feel lost. There's not really anything coming out. I guess I'll rewatch Fallout. I'm going to go see Christopher Robin and 8th Grade. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week.
But the summer's over.
It is though, right?
Yeah.
We got Meg. You were looking forward to Meg?
I mean, I'm going to watch Meg, and I am looking forward to Meg. No, I don't.
Happy Time Murders.
I mean, I am looking forward to Happy Time
There we
Murders.
go.
But like,
those don't seem like those don't quantify to me as like summer blockbuster movies.
I'm excited to record our best of summer episode.
that's right.
It's going to be a unique collection of movies, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Atypical from standard fare.
Well, Darren's list is always atypical and completely out of left field, and I think mostly lies.
Darren always does best of summer, and he takes out all the blockbusters because he knows we're all going to ramble about them. But this year, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Right.
Fallout will be on there.
Yeah.
So is okay.
No, we're doing the traditional summer. Avengers Infinity War does not count, Brian.
But the original date.
But it came out in April. Okay. It's not a summer movie. I refuse to call it one.
Okay. All right.
I'm not calling it a summer movie.
Yeah.
April ain't the summer. I don't give a fuck what nobody says.
Do you know what? I'm not a teacher anymore. My whole year is summer.
You're still a teacher. I learn
I
from
am.
you every day.
Oh, you're too much. I'm your mentor.
Yes. Oh, you were going to say, I'm sorry, interrupted you.
What?
Lisa.
What?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is a great ending to this episode.
There you go.
I can't
ladies and
wait
gentlemen.
for next week when we hear the D&B show.
We got to work on that. All right.
Did you do what are you looking forward to? Did we talk about that?
Yeah,
oh,
just
yeah.
8th grade.
No, you said it.
Yeah,
I
we did.
remember.
This is
Remember?
the worst outro.
8th grade.
We gotta leave.
Let's go.
I don't want to leave. We haven't done this in a while. I just love it.
It has been so long.
All right, we're going to go,
Weeks.
ladies and gentlemen, record our review cast for San Diego Comic-Con 2018. So thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time.
Listen to our Comic-Con review cast.
Yeah.